Okay, so in this week's guitar lesson, we're going to learn a blues lead that's a lot of fun to play. And the cool thing about this is everything that I played in the intro, all of those notes came from one region of the fretboard. And so I limited myself to one area just to show that you can play an entire solo in one area. You don't have to play all over the fretboard. That was something I thought you had to do when I learned how to play these patterns, these pentatonic scale patterns. I thought that you had to use them all, or you at least had to use a couple of them. I thought that, that's what they're there for. But you can limit yourself to one, and you can play an entire lead in one area. There's no reason to have to jump all over the place. You can if you want to, but sometimes it's nice to just kind of put the limits on and, kind of put your blinders on in terms of options and start thinking about phrasing. Like, when are you going to play? When are you not going to play? How do you make it sound more like the human voice? How do we sing with our fingers? It's a different mindset than when you're thinking about all the technical stuff that happens when you're looking at the entire fretboard. So that's what we're going to be doing in this week's lesson. I've got the whole thing split across 2 lessons. So in this video, we're going to go through the first half of what I played. If you'd like to watch the second half, which is in the part 2 video, download the tablature, download the MP3 jam track, and also have access to the on-screen tab viewer, which has tab and video on the screen at the same time. There's no talking, but it's interactive. You can highlight sections and loop sections. You can slow down the playback. It's just a great way to take everything we're talking about here and learn it if you want to get it verbatim. So if you want those extra materials for this lesson, you can get all of those by going to activemelody.com and doing a search for EP621. Okay, so we're going to be playing this blues in the key of D. Typically with blues, I tend to play in either the key of E or A just because of the open strings you have. But sometimes it's nice to play in a different key. So we're going to be playing in the key of D. And I'm basing everything off of one chord shape. We're going to be looking at the E shape from the CAGED system. So if I'm playing my D chord using the E shape, it looks like this. It's up here in this position. That's where I'm barring with my index finger on the 10th fret. And when I say E shape, if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm talking about these 3 fingers. Those are making the E shape. Think of your E chord in first position, right? If I were to move that up in capo on the 1st fret, I'm playing an F chord. Move it up again, F sharp, G, keep going all the way up until I'm barring on the 10th fret, and now I'm playing a D chord. How do I know that? Because this note on the 10th fret 6th string and on the 10th fret 1st string, those are D notes. Therefore, if I put my finger there and bar there, I'm playing, and then make that E shape, I'm playing a D chord. So inside of this shape, I've got some options here. And so this was one of the things I didn't realize when I first learned the CAGED system. I thought it was just chords and maybe chords and triads, but it's more than that. You can use these areas as containers or buckets and put scales in them. You can put arpeggios in them. You can put single notes in them. You've got like a way to organize the fretboard. That's why I love it so much and I'm such a fan. So inside of this D chord using the E shape, I've got 2 D notes. I've got another D note here on the 12th fret 4th string. So I've got that, but then I've got my scales, and we're going to look at our minor pentatonic scale and major. So everything that I played was really just your major and minor pentatonic scale, mostly minor pentatonic. So the D minor pentatonic scale in this container looks like this. I'm going to start with my index finger on the 10th fret 6th string, and I'm going to play up it like this. And I want you to notice that my index finger hit every one of those notes on the 10th fret. Remember, that was the fret we barred, right? So that 10th fret is just like a nice little visual anchor, and it's also where your D note is. So it makes it easy to find that minor pentatonic scale pattern 1. That's why this pattern 1 pentatonic scale is so popular. It's just very easy to see. It's very symmetrical. And it's easy to find. Okay, so that's my minor pentatonic scale. If I start my D note on the 6th string with my middle finger, I can play my major pentatonic scale in this same container. So check this out. Listen to the sound of that. Hear the sound of your major. Hear how happy that sounds. Versus my minor pentatonic scale, which sounds more sad or bluesy. So that's the two scales. Now that seems overwhelming. I can already anticipate somebody out there is going, okay, that's a lot of information already. But let me show you the sweet spot, the spot that you're going to use the most. It really happens on strings 1, 2, and 3. You can kind of, at least in this exercise, just eliminate strings 4, 5, and 6 for what we're going to talk about here. And that's the overlap of your major and minor pentatonic scale. You've got to get this part right. If you want to play the blues, this is where it all happens. So pay attention to this part. So on the let's look at strings 1 and 2 first, just to sort of simplify. So my minor pentatonic scale on strings 1 and 2 look like this. Has 13, 10, 13, 10, right? My major pentatonic scale on strings 1 and 2 looks like this. So I've still got strings 1 and 2 on the 10th fret, but now I've moved this corner over to the 12th fret. So I've got 12, 10, 12, 10. So it's really kind of that simple in a way. So we've got minor, sad, bluesy, major. See the difference? Or hear the difference, rather. Okay, now when we come down to the 3rd string on our minor pentatonic scale, we have this. We have 12, 10, right? When we come down to the 3rd string with our major pentatonic scale, we've got these two notes, which is just sort of staggered. So you have that, which is your 3rd interval of your chord, of your D chord, but you have the 11th fret and the 9th fret. And if you get nothing else out of this lesson, you can play the blues in a pretty meaningful way, both major and minor pentatonic scales, and blending them with just those notes that you learned there. So if you got your minor, notice I came down to this note here too, that which is 12th fret 4th string, my D note. And you've got your major. Landed on that same D note again. And you can hear the difference. One sounds kind of sad, one sounds kind of happy. But where it gets really cool is when you blend them and you start kind of thinking of them as one scale. So you could do things like, right? You've heard that, like Freddie King style. You can start to really get some sophisticated sounds, but that's all it is in my head. It's just those two scales kind of overlapping in this one area. And once you get a few licks under your finger, you can start to expand on them. And I'm going to give you some as we get into this. So let's take that information and we're going to apply it now. Let's listen to the first phrase that's happening here. It's just minor pentatonic scale. And then we'll talk about what's going on. Okay, so it starts with this note, which is my D note on the 12th fret 4th string, and I come in on the 3. So when the jam track comes in, you don't start right on the 1. It's 1, 2, 3, right on that beat of the first measure. And then watch this, nice and slow. So that's just D minor pentatonic scale pattern 1. So I'm sliding into that, coming up to this 10th fret 3rd string, and then 12th fret 3rd string, 2 full bends, like that. Then watch this. So that's going back down to the 10th fret 3rd string, 12th fret 4th string, back to the 12th fret 3rd string. And then that last note is on the 10th fret 3rd string. And when I hit this note, I always push it a little bit sharp, like this. Notice you're not just playing the flat 3 like this. You're going, pushing towards the major 3rd. And this happens here. It also happens up here on the 13th fret 1st string. Same note, an octave higher. So you'll hear this in the blues. You know, you're hinting at that major 3rd. That is just a strong characteristic of the blues, specifically when it comes to guitar, is pushing that flat 3 towards the major sound. You hear all the blues guys doing that. Okay, so then I played this. And And this is just strings 2 and 3 out of my D chord. And you might want to just think of it as the triad. Strings 2 and 3. I do this all the time. I find the chord, or I'll visualize the chord, and I'll play the chord. I'll just be very literal about it. You don't have to, always think scales. You can blend your scales and your chords. And this is just 2 notes out of the chord, obviously just a harmony. Then I came back to this D note down here, and then watch this. That's a little chromatic walk down from the 12th fret down to the 10th fret on that 4th string. Chromatic just means we hit that in-between note. So we're hitting all the notes along the way. So we go 12, 11, 10. And that note that I landed on, which really sounds bluesy, is the flat 7. Anytime you can find your flat 7s, and you need to know where they are in your containers, so this is another light bulb moment for you. And I did a whole lesson on this. I'll put this up on the screen if you want a deep dive into just this E shape and seeing where your flat 7s are and all your scales and arpeggios and everything. The flat 7 in this container is here, and there's another one up here on the 13th fret 2nd string. Those are the 2 notes that are your flat 7 in this container. And so what I mean by that is if you really want to blues it up, land on that flat 7. It'll highlight the sound of a dominant 7 chord, which would be like a D7 chord. So listen to this. Hear how I landed on that note? It doesn't resolve quite like the 1 would or the 3 would. But that's flat 7, it pulls it into almost like a transition chord, like it wants to go somewhere else, which would be the 4 chord. All right, so now the song goes to the 4th chord, which is my G. And I played really kind of a repeat. I like to repeat licks a lot. So I played that. And just sort of a standard blues. This is just minor pentatonic scale pattern 1. We started with that D note again on that 4th string, 12th fret. Notice I push that sharp every time I hit that note. That flat 3, I push it a little bit sharp. So after that, we go back to the D note on the 12th fret 4th string, and then hit the note below it with my middle finger on that 12th fret 5th string. And you've heard that little phrase in the blues a lot, that I love little phrases like that I hear all the time. I just work them into my vocabulary, and that's what I'm hoping you get. So now you've got this phrase. And then kind of the response to that lick is, if you can think of that lick as a call, the response would be back to that flat 3, pushing it sharp. Same exact notes that we've been using, so I'll just put that up on tab, and it's just... And then I love this technique. I hear a lot of the blues guys doing this, where they'll hit a low note and then they'll hit that same note an octave higher. So you hear that with a lick like... That's what I was doing there. When I hit that note, that high octave, I hit it a little soft, but I left it in there because I just thought it kind of worked. So I kind of played it like that. It's just a bend and release on this 3rd string, 12th fret. There's a pull off. So I just picked that once. And then I do a hammer on to the 12th fret 4th string. So really only one pick stroke has happened. And then I came and did an upstroke with my right hand to hit that 10th fret 1st string, which is my D note, just an octave higher. Now the song goes to the 5 chord, which is our A, and I played this. So now we're going to take advantage of blending that major and minor in just one real simple little spot here. So I'm starting on the 10th fret 2nd string, and that's my A note, by the way. That's the note of my 5 chord. Just kind of file that away in your head. When you're playing a blues and you're wondering which note to land on for the 5 chord, it's that note, and there it is an octave lower. You don't need to even know the note name. Just know where it is inside of your container. It's here, right? It's in the bar. It's just on the 2nd string. So we started there, then I came to the flat 7, which is the 13th fret 2nd string. And then watch this. So I hit that note. And then I went to the 12th fret, which is the note right behind it. That would be in my major pentatonic scale. Remember we talked about that. So minor, major. So I went ahead and did a pre-bend release. So I played that note, pre-bent it, picked it, and released it. It's not hard to do. You can do that. Just practice it a few times and you'll get it. That's the effect. So it's just hitting that one note from my major pentatonic scale for that one moment, but it's just enough to color it. And by the way, for the most part, other than this note for your 5 chord that I mentioned, I'm not really thinking about which notes to land on so much, because any of these notes for my major or minor pentatonic scale are going to work. That's the nice thing about this formula. You can go between them however you want. It allows you to take your brain out of it and just sort of start to express what you're feeling. That's why it's so popular with the blues. So we have, so that pre-bend release, then down to the 10th fret 2nd string, and then 12th fret 3rd string. We're going to land on that note, which is the note of my 5 chord. Now at this point in the song, we go from the 5 chord to the 4 chord, which is the G, and I play this. So check this out. So what I did in this moment, I was thinking chord changes. I just said I wasn't, and you don't have to. That's the cool thing about playing these pentatonics. You play any note. But I knew the song was going to the 4 chord, which is my G, and I knew I've got a G chord here in that same container area, right? Same fret zone. That's using the A shape. So that's my G chord using the A shape. I've got the top part of the A shape. So since I'm picturing this G chord, the top part of that A shape here, I'm just going to walk up chromatically from my 10th fret 2nd string. We're going to walk up 10, 11, 12, and then from here I'm just going to go ahead and make the chord. Actually just strings 1 and 2 of the chord. So 12th fret 2nd string, 10th fret 1st string, back to the 12th fret 2nd string, but you can see where these notes are coming from. It's coming from the top part of that A shape for my G chord, right? So, and then to blues it up again, or even further, I use my pinky to hit that 13th fret 1st string. Now that would be my G7, right? There's that triad. So I was thinking that way, but after I hit that, I went ahead and went into minor pentatonic scale pattern 1 and finished that and just played down the scale. So I started by playing the chord, the arpeggio, and then just ended by playing down the scale. And so that's, your brain will start to work that way, and it happens on autopilot. It's not like you're sitting there really planning this stuff out and sweating over it. It's just sort of the same way I'm having this conversation and I'm putting sentences and words together in real time, improvising this. I don't have a script or anything. You'll be able to do that when you play, just by learning a lick like this and getting the sounds in your head. And then to complete that phrase, I went like this. A little slide from my 13th fret down to the 12th fret on that 3rd string. 10th fret 3rd string, down to this D note, and then that same D note an octave higher. I keep doing the octave thing. And I do it for the 5 chord and I do it for the 1 chord because I know I've got a D here and 1 here. And I've got the same thing, look at this. For the 5 chord, I've got that note, which is my A there, and I've got it there. So 1 here and 1 here, 1 here and 1 here. So then the final little phrase here goes like this. So I started 12th fret 3rd string, minor pentatonic scale, pattern 1, and then up to 10th fret 2nd string. And I like the sound of how those clash. There's a little dissonance that's created there. And then a hammer-on between my flat 3 and my 3. 10th fret up to the 11th fret on the 3rd string. You hear that in the blues all the time, this. Right? So we have, and then down to this D note here, 12th fret 4th string, and then the note below it, which is the 12th fret 5th string. So we have, and then to conclude it, I went, so it's the 10th fret 4th string down to the 12th fret 5th string, which is the note of my 5 chord, what we're playing over now, by the way. So now is where the song is on the A. So I played that, came down to the 12th fret 5th string, and then hit that same note an octave higher, which would be the 10th fret 2nd string. And I love the sound of that. So that whole little conclusion phrase goes. Now that's a great little takeaway. If you get nothing else, just walk away with that lick as a turnaround lick. So in a blues, you've got your 5 chord, down to the 4 chord, this is the turnaround, and then down to the 1, and you've got. Now notice I had to repeat that to get the timing to work out there. But that's just a little lick you can use to get you back to the 1. Now just remember that lick, that's a big good takeaway, that lick over the 5 chord. When you've got your 5 chord in the blues, you've got this. Right? You can do it in whatever timing works out. You can repeat a line, you could go. Right? So you can repeat little parts of it if you needed to time out right. But that's the idea. And now you're ready for the 1. So we're going to end this part 1 video right there. That's a good spot for this. Come join us in part 2 where we'll go over the second half. And I have a whole other section of this, a whole other part of this lead. And I'm staying in that same region for part 2. So it's not like I go to a different region of the fretboard. We're staying limited to that D chord using the E shape. All right, I hope you've enjoyed this lesson. Leave a comment and let me know if you've liked this, if this has resonated with you, if it's been confusing, if you've had any issues with this or understanding it. I always appreciate that. I do read through all the comments. And give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, I would encourage you to do that. I put out lessons like this every week, and I've been doing it for about 15 years now. And I never miss a week. So if you're enjoying these deep dives and learning how to improvise and really become familiar with the guitar, give me a subscribe and then also hit the alert bell so you can be notified when I put out new lessons. All right, we'll see you in part 2.